presets have changed forever. I'm just going to say it. With this Lightroom 11.4 release, what we can now do with presets is something that I've never seen with presets before. When it comes to productivity, whether you buy presets, whether you make your own, whether you've never made your own, I think this is something you're going to be interested in because the productivity level has gone through the roof when it comes to using them. But to me, the big part is that presets were never really adaptable to your photo. And that was a little bit of a stumbling block for presets. It required a little bit more work once you applied it. Now when you see, especially the 3 areas that Lightroom has changed when it comes to presets, not only are they going to be faster for you to use, but they are so much more adaptable for your photos that even if you've never made a preset before, I think it's going to be something that you're going to want to try. So let's go ahead and check out what makes this all happen. The first point for this is actually 2 little mini points. So I'm going to include them together for this first one. One would be the addition of the fact that, back in the end of 2021, we got AI powered selections, because if you wanted to create a preset that maybe saved you time with your landscape photos on skies, the way we had to do it is go to the linear gradient. All right, we were always able to do this, and maybe I want to do something dramatic, so I'll bring the exposure down, bring the whites up a little bit, and bring the clarity up a bit here, and I'd click and drag, and I could try to offset some of it with moving the shadows adjustment, or just move the linear gradient. And that might be a bit too dark here, but you get the idea. We've used linear gradients on our landscape photos for years and been happy with it. And we were even able to turn this into a preset, and this is where it comes in, is let's say I create this one linear sky, all right? And I was able to turn this into a preset. It didn't say masking here, it would say linear gradient or radial gradient, and it would save it as a preset. The problem was when I went to another photo and I tried to apply it to another photo, it would apply that gradient in the same exact spot. So it became hard to work on different landscape photos because we'd always have to go in and move it around and change it. Of course, we could always change the settings, and it wasn't a big deal, but it did cut down on, if you're using presets for creativity or for saving time, it did cut down on that, because now you always had to go in there and move your gradients based on the photo that you were using it on. So to me, let's go ahead back to our original photo here. To me, having these AI powered selections is the first step in making presets change forever. And I'd say to add to that first point, the next part of it is being able to do a true invert, which is actually what came recently in June of 2022. So now I can select sky and I can make my adjustments to the photo, all right, and go in here and make some drama up here in the sky, all right. But now I'm able to do a true invert on this one, where you could invert the mask if you wanted to, but you can also do over here, you can come into duplicate and invert, which now allows me to create presets that work on the sky and the foreground, okay? Because once you have the sky as a mask, when you duplicate and invert that, you then have the foreground as a mask, where you can go in here and you can make changes specifically to the foreground of the photo, all right? Now, think about what that means, because this duplicate is not just taking the sky mask and flipping it, okay? Because that wouldn't work in a preset, right? It would be, if I did that and hard-coded it into a preset, it would forever be the shape of my sky. But where this comes in really powerful is this duplicate and invert makes a copy of an AI-powered mask. So it's being recalculated on this duplicated layer and then simply flipped. So when you think about what that allows us to do, it allows us to make presets that work on the sky and the foreground all in one preset. We've never been able to do that before when it comes to presets, okay? All right, so the second thing, and I'm gonna get to in just a second, if you give me 60 seconds for a very quick word from our sponsor, I have created, pretty interesting, I've created the world's first AI-powered adaptive Lightroom presets. Think about that. They are AI-powered adaptive, meaning that things like you just saw here can be put into a preset. And I'm showing you how to do it, and you feel free to just go create your own, but I did create a very affordable package for you. So if you're interested in that, there's a landscape pack, there's a sky pack, there's a lot in the sky pack, and there's a wildlife pack. Think about what we're able to do. We're able to create these presets that work on the foreground and the sky. We're able to think about wildlife. with select subject. I'm able to make presets that work on the subject and then also work on the background. Sports, portraits, same idea. Don't let the names get you caught up, because I mean, the landscape ones work great on wildlife. The wildlife ones work good on portraits. The sky ones work on any photo with a sky in it. So there's a lot of power inside there. I made it very affordable because, I mean, let's face it, nobody wants to drive anywhere because it's too expensive. So hopefully you can get some presets and spend some time editing your photos. Feel free to swing by the website and find out a little bit more. All right, back to our story. So that was the first part about what made presets so powerful, laid the groundwork for it. The second part about what makes presets so powerful is when we create presets, because up until June of 2022, if we tried to create a preset, and even using the AI powered masking sections that we have here, the problem is they weren't recomputed on the new photo. Okay, you would actually see a little exclamation point here, and then if you ever tried to use that preset on another photo, so if I ever tried to go to another photo and use the preset and applied it, what you would see when I would click on that preset, let's go to this one here, what you would see is, instead of seeing all these masks that appeared here, you would see little exclamation points next to each one, and you would have to click update. You actually see a message that told you had to update the mask because it wasn't automatically recomputed on that photo. And that, to me, is I mean, the next point is really good too. They're both equal, but they are major additions when it comes to presets. When I say presets have changed forever, the ability to put that into a preset, which we were able to do, but also have it automatically updated for you. And even, here's the best part about it, go to a photo, and now when you look at your presets over here, you can see I've created a bunch of them over there. Your preview will show you what it looks like, as long as you have it turned on in your preferences to show you previews. But your preview will show you what it looks like inside of there. And that wasn't possible before this latest Lightroom update. Okay, moving on to number 3. When it came to presets, one of the things, I've been creating presets almost since Lightroom came out. And one of the things that I would do quite a bit I'd create multiple versions of the same preset. So I'd create like bright, brighter, brightest, or dark, darker, darkest. You could say I did a couple of demos here, but bright 1, bright 2, bright 3, because I wanted to give people different options when they applied those presets for some of the different settings that you could do. With the addition of the amount adjustment that we now have as of this latest Lightroom update, we don't need that anymore. So think about this. Now I can go and I can find a preset that works. So bright foreground, dark sky. All right, I'll click on that. That's one of my landscape presets. I don't have to create 3 versions of bright foreground, dark sky, because now we have amount over here. And if you think about amount not as opacity, I've heard Adobe refer to it almost as a volume adjustment. You've got a good volume setting that's right in the middle. That's a pleasant place to listen. If you turn it up, it gets more intense. If you turn it down, it gets less intense, until essentially you get to 0, which is essentially you're not hearing, or in this case, you're not seeing anything. But this amount adjustment makes presets, I think, takes them to a whole different place, because now you'll notice, guys, there's not 100 presets in my AI presets here, because there's no reason to have 100 presets. Now I can take the effect of one preset and I can amplify it or turn it down with one adjustment here, which makes your preset panel a lot easier to maintain. And if you're creating your own presets, that makes it a lot easier to create a very balanced group of settings for one preset, and know that with that amount adjustment, you can just dial it up or dial it down without creating multiple presets that do the same thing. Also, don't forget, please swing by, check out the AI-powered adaptive presets. I'm telling you, these are fun to work with and so much more creative to work with, and faster when it comes to editing your photos. And also, I know this is a Lightroom video, but if you use Photoshop, Lightroom's a pretty simple interface, but if you use Photoshop, it gets pretty complicated. I did a really popular video a while back that shows you how to take Photoshop and make it a little bit more simpler by removing some of the things that we don't use anymore. So if you're looking for another video to go watch, that's a great one to check out next.